And my number one movie of 2023 is Knights of the Zodiac. Hold on. This isn't the April Fool's video. What are we recording today? We're recording... Oh, my top 10 of 2023. So the real video. Okay, so let's get started. What's going on, you guys? James here, and today, that's right, we're getting into my top 10 movies of 2023. It's been a long year. I've actually watched less movies this year than last year, but that's because of school, work, the things, more things. But trust me, we're gonna stay on pace for next year. I'm just so excited because, guys, this year I watched some incredible movies. Some movies that are not so great, but some that are just on the cusp of my top 10. So we'll talk about 5 honorable mentions, and then we'll get into my top 10. But y'all, you might be shocked at what is in my top 5. Now, before we get into it, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, and you're ready for 2024, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, and hit the thumbs up button. I'm thinking about doing a most anticipated movies of 2024 list. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comments below. But more importantly than that, let me know your top 10 for 2023, and I can't wait to see all the diverse lists and the different number ones, and I wonder if we'll all agree that Oppenheimer is well deserving of being in top 10 consideration for everyone this past year. So alrighty, y'all, well, you know what, it's time to get into it. Let's not waste any more time and get into my honorable mentions. Now again, these are movies that were just on the cusp of my top 10. Let's begin with Air, which is starring a really good ensemble cast led by Matt Damon. It's a movie that details more about the tremendous obstacles in getting a legacy shoe for Nike. And yes, it's surrounding Michael Jordan's shoe. I mean, it's not really featuring Michael Jordan. I think we get the actor who plays Michael Jordan like the back of his head, but Viola Davis does a great job at playing Michael Jordan's mother in this movie, and Matt Damon brings it right alongside Ben Affleck. And I'll just be completely honest, you guys, this is a movie that has a lot of dialogue, so if you're not a fan of movies that have more dialogue than action, this might not be for you. As for this viewer, I'm growing up, you know, I'm 30 years old now, so I appreciate a movie that can really hold me with just dialogue, and that's exactly what Air does. It's a really well shot film, it's well paced, Matt Damon brings it. It just didn't really make my top 10 because of some other incredible movies this year. So let's get into the second honorable mention, and that is The Holdovers. Did you finally understand why I'm wearing this and I have my vinyl in the corner of the screen there? That's because this movie is so nice. It's like a warm hug. If the hug came with a lot of cursing and Dominic Sessa and Paul Giamatti going back and forth at each other. But man, oh man, is The Holdovers one of the biggest surprises of the entire year. I went in not really excited for the movie because while the trailer was shot in a unique way, captured a very vintage vibe, you know, 70s, like 60s era filmmaking, I didn't necessarily love the trailer, so when I sat down for the movie, I wasn't expecting much. Instead, I got a Christmas film that was definitely not your run-of-the-mill Christmas movie, featuring an incredible debut performance by Dominic Sessa, and Divine Joy Randolph gives what I believe should be her Oscar-winning performance. She deserves to be nominated and to win because there's a scene where she just breaks down at a party. When she breaks down, it made me break down. So the movie is incredible. I really do recommend it. It's just, remember, it's not going to be for the younger audience. Alrighty, y'all. So now let's get into my third honorable mention, and this was tough to leave out of my top 10. I'm not going to lie. And that is Disney Pixar's Elemental. Listen, y'all, and listen closely. Elemental is a movie in which, if you haven't given it a shot yet because of the awful marketing surrounding the movie, you need to. It features amazing voice performances and a story that touched my heart. Is it any different than most Disney Pixar movies? Probably not too unique. However, it's the voice acting, and it's got a great story that at its core deals with a lot of social commentary as well. Man, it really hit on all cylinders for me. It made me laugh quite a bit, and I almost cried at the end. I'm a softie, don't judge me. Alrighty, so we have 2 more honorable mentions left to go. So the next one is The Boy and the Heron. This is a movie I saw later this year. If you paid attention on my letterbox, I wrote a little bit more there. But the film itself is one of the more unique movies of the year, and I mean that in a really good way. The story is one that I'm sure if you're a fan of Studio Ghibli's films, you'll recognize some elements I've heard that are present in other Hayao Miyazaki films. I've only ever watched Spirited Away before this, so this is my second Hayao Miyazaki movie, and man, did I love it. I saw it subbed. I wanted to see it dubbed for Robert Pattinson's performance as the Heron, but the movie itself sometimes gets a little lost in its way. The runtime is fine. Maybe it's a little long at the end, but I did appreciate the tale of someone dealing with grief through the eyes of a young person. Usually we get that a lot from the perspective of someone who's much older, but we were able to really focus in on this story through the eyes of a boy grieving the loss of his mother. It was actually pretty good, and also I didn't expect that ending. So yeah, The Boy and the Heron is a solid movie, and the animation is absolutely gorgeous. Might be some of the best animation of the year. So alrighty, my last honorable mention before we get into my top 10, you guys. And that's Creed 3. Yes, I know the stuff surrounding Jonathan Majors probably distracted everyone from this film, and it might have actually hurt the longevity of this movie a bit, but Michael B. Jordan in his directorial debut does an incredible job. And not only that, but he's great again as Adonis Creed, and the in-ring fighting, it's so unique, and that's what this trilogy has done a good job of, which is delivering you unique in-ring visuals. And Michael B. Jordan really does draw from his anime love, and it feels like, especially at the end, that final fight was straight out of an anime. So I loved it. I don't necessarily know if there's a way forward. They seem to have wrapped up the story nicely, but we know there's a lot of spin-offs coming, and we know there's a lot of, talk about a sequel again, so a fourth Creed movie. Listen, I'll be seated because it's Michael B. Jordan. I think he's so talented, and behind the lens, yeah, he did a very good job with Creed 3. Alrighty, you guys. So, it's time for my top 10. Allow me to get a drink of water because we're kicking it off with a movie that might surprise you that it's maybe this low in my top 10. My number 10 film of 2023 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, directed by James Gunn and starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Karen Gillan, and Pom Klementieff. I rated this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, you guys, and this is a movie that reminded me of the MCU's greatness. Now, that doesn't mean the MCU is not great. It's still very good. It just feels like the MCU's kind of gotten off the beaten path a bit. Not saying that it needs to always deliver Captain America and Iron Man type of movies and shows that have that level of quality. I just feel like the MCU has really found its way, and then after Endgame, it's been a little bit more hit and miss than we're accustomed to. However, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 really does bring you back and make you remember that when the MCU is hitting on all cylinders, it can deliver quality products, and this is no exception. This film is full of heart. It's very sad. It definitely features Rocket Raccoon a lot more than the other movies, and let me tell y'all, that ending hits. Oh, does it hit? And there's an action sequence in a hallway here that I'm still thinking about too to this day. But this movie just features, again, an amazing ensemble cast. Chukwudi, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, I'm so sorry. Chukwudi Iwuji, thank you, is one of the most sinister, if not the most sinister MCU villains since Thanos. I'm telling you guys, between Thanos, Killmonger, and now Chukwudi Iwuji's character, I'm going to be honest, y'all. That's a trio there that I can get behind. But yes, I really, really love this movie, and I enjoy my time with it. And yeah, I'm going to miss our Guardians and the way they once were, but I'm excited for the future. Alrighty, so now for my number 9 movie of 2023, and that is Past Lives, directed by Celine Song and starring Greta Lee and Teo Yo. I hope I pronounced his name correctly, however, I love Past Lives. It gets a 4.5 out of 5 for me, and it's Celine Song's debut, her feature-length debut as a director. She also wrote this film, and the movie is, oof, boy. If you're looking for a good time, as a film lover, you'll have a good time. But as someone who is going on the ride from start to finish, you're going to be an emotional wreck. I actually watched this movie on a flight to San Diego recently in October, and I don't love watching movies on flights too much because sometimes you don't get that experience. So unless it's a movie I'm familiar with, then it might not necessarily be a good first watch experience. But in this instance, oh, Past Lives, I was gripped from start to finish. The film's story is not necessarily new to lovers who were, childhood crushes that then grow apart, and somehow life finds them back together again. But one, of course, loves the other person more than the other, who is now married and has a life. So you can see where the little, I guess, stereotypical romance elements come into play. But the movie's acting, I should say the acting in this movie, is just incredible, because it's so subtle and nuanced. And the movie itself has some amazing cinematography. The score is great. It's just a breathtaking experience. And if this is Celine Song's first movie, how many of y'all know that she's probably going to deliver an amazing sophomore film as well? So yes, Past Lives, you definitely deserve to be in my top 10. Alrighty, so coming in at number 8 is RAYLA, directed by Rain Allen Miller and starring David Johnson and Vivian Oparah. This movie got a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me as well, and this is my favorite rom-com of the year, and quite possibly my favorite rom-com of the past 5 years. I am in love with RAYLA. It's such a surprise for me because I didn't see much marketing surrounding it. It got some buzz at film festivals, but it largely dropped on Hulu, and I didn't really hear too much about it after that. But it was always on my watch list, so I decided one day just sit back. It's got an hour and a half runtime. It's a very breezy film, but the movie itself features 2 amazing lead performances with chemistry that's off the charts and a story that is told so uniquely thanks to the cinematography. The blocking in every shot is so different. Sometimes it's not so great, but most times it works for me. And the score is actually really impressive. And of course the needle drops are cool too. But it is David Johnson and Vivian Oparah's performances as Dom and, I'm gonna forget her name. But man, oh man, they are just so good together. And then the movie ends. And I'm like, wait a second. It ended actually how I love my rom-coms to end. In a sappy, heartfelt way. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. It was just so amazing, and I want to see RAYLA win. I voted for it in my Southeastern Film Critics Association top 10 list. It is just worthy of all the praise, and it's such a good rom-com. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend this movie. Alrighty, so coming in at number 7 is American Fiction, directed by Cord Jefferson and starring Jeffrey Wright, Tracy Ellis Ross, Erica Alexander, and Sterling K. Brown. So, little known fact, after the summertime season ended, my most anticipated movie for the second half of the year was American Fiction. Not only do I love Jeffrey Wright, listen, I'm a big Westworld fan, so of course, you know Jeffrey Wright is like in my upper echelon of actors, but Jeffrey Wright's career has been nothing short of remarkable. It's excellent, but he's never really had a lead performance in a feature-length film like this before. And I cannot believe we waited so long to deliver this man what he deserves, because not only does he crush it here, but the movie exceeded my expectations. It was hilarious. It was very poignant. It had social commentary on the Black experience in America. Now, I can't relate to that clearly. However, I can sympathize with our leads here, and I do think the movie itself hits hard, especially in the midway point of this film. You just feel the weight of this character that Jeffrey Wright is playing, and then at the end it's either make or break for some viewers, right? But for me, it didn't break the experience. I just wasn't in love with the ending. I just know that American Fiction is a movie you need to watch. Cord Jefferson does an amazing job adapting the story from a novel, but bringing it to the big screen in a big way. And it's 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. It's got some touching performances. And listen, I just want to see Jeffrey Wright get nominated for an Oscar. Is that too much to ask for? Alrighty guys, so we're close to my top 5, but before that, let's talk about my number 6, and that is Maestro, directed by Bradley Cooper and starring Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan. I'm trying to compose now. Bradley Cooper's inspired me. No, but seriously, this movie is crazy good. I mean, it's a strong film with stronger performances. I mean, the way Bradley Cooper was able to act in just the cathedral scene alone was otherworldly. And then you have Carey Mulligan, who for me steals the show. Carey Mulligan, man, she is just so good in this movie. I feel like I haven't seen her in anything where I would say she's not great in. I mean, she just... Listen, the stuff that Leonard Bernstein's wife had to put up with is crazy, but Carey Mulligan brings the full weight of that to the big screen. And I love the cinematography here. It seems like Bradley Cooper as a director is really coming into his own. This is a biopic, so it's going to be an awards darling for nominations. I don't think it'll get much wins outside of Best Actor with Bradley Cooper, but man, Bradley Cooper just delivers again. You know, we had A Star is Born with Lady Gaga, and now we have Maestro. First of all, the man loves music in his movies, but second, what is next? Because Bradley Cooper, I'm seated. Alrighty guys, so now it's time for my top 5, and I'm so excited to kick it off with John Wick Chapter 4, directed by Chad Stahelski and starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, and Bill Skarsgård. You know, it's rare that a franchise, let alone an action franchise, can really carry quality movie after movie and sometimes one up itself. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, Chapter 4 might be the best one of the bunch. Keanu Reeves is just excellent. Now, is this the one that has the least amount of story? Yes. But does it have the absolute best action of the franchise so far? Absolutely. The best shot, the best choreography, the best everything. Everything just sort of blends together so perfectly. There's a scene when they're, I believe, in Paris, if I'm not mistaken, where they're at a roundabout, like it's a traffic circle, and they're just in an extended action sequence, and my jaw was on the ground. I don't know how you film that. Then there's overhead shots that are going from room to room. Beautiful. They're in Tokyo. The neon Tokyo Vice setting, just beautiful. Everything about this movie is beautiful. And if you haven't watched it yet, you really owe it to yourself, because it took me a little while to watch this movie throughout the year. But when I finally did, I was glued. Did the runtime affect me? No. Is it long? Sure. But did it feel long? Absolutely not. My question is this though, guys. Where the heck did they go from here? Alrighty, so now moving on to number 4, and that is Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig and starring Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, America Ferrera, Issa Rae, and so many others. This movie is a strong 4.5 out of 5 for me, and at one point, you guys, it was my number 2 of the year. But Barbie is an ensemble film that features incredible performances and a story that shocked me. Because when I first heard about a Barbie movie being directed by Greta Gerwig, I'm like, hey, I love Greta Gerwig. I've loved all of her work so far. Lady Bird, Little Women, and now Barbie. But how do you make a movie about Barbie? And how do you do so without being too on the nose? Well, the comedy is great. Then you have a lot of social commentary in the story. But most of all, you have a heartfelt story about Barbie. And I did not expect that. I don't think this movie would have been as great, though, if it wasn't for the performances by Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. You know, Barbie and Ken. But both of them carry a lot of their own weight in this movie, and sometimes will carry scenes. Now, there is one standout scene, of course, the monologue by America Ferrera, that really sort of puts the icing on top of the cake and encapsulates a lot of what this experience is. And it's mainly social commentary on how, you know, women are held to unreal expectations. I'm sure there's more nuance to that, of course, but this movie really worked for me. And it was weird to hear some of the discourse, surrounding all of this, because to me, this movie hit. A lot of people did not like the movie because they felt it was kind of just shouting at them, but no, I actually really loved it. I thought Greta Gerwig did a good job, and the script was amazing by Greta Gerwig and her husband, Noah Baumbach. So, yeah. The movie is awesome. Barbie is a rompy adventure that just worked for me. And listen, I was laughing quite a bit. My girlfriend and I loved it. So yeah, it's a good movie. It's layered. You should watch it. And if you haven't already, I'm sure you will come award season. It's going to be nominated quite a bit. Alrighty, y'all. So now it's time for my top 3. My number 3 is going to shock you. And you might be mad at me for it. So, coming in at number 3 is Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan and starring Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, and Florence Pugh. And you might hate me for the star rating. It's a 4.5 out of 5. Listen, that doesn't make it a bad movie, okay? Just because it's not a 5 out of 5 doesn't mean it's not a masterpiece, because it is Christopher Nolan's masterpiece. Now, he's got some masterpieces, in my opinion, that are already in his arsenal, but for the general population, this is probably going to be his masterpiece. Now, I love Oppenheimer. I will tell you, the only notes I have on this movie are the fact that the sex scenes and the nudity just didn't feel necessary to me, but Oppenheimer was incredibly well acted by everyone in this cast. Everyone. I mean, Cillian Murphy, he's probably going to get his Oscar here. And then you have Robert Downey Jr., he's probably going to get his Oscar for supporting actor too. So like, this movie's just got so many Oscars that it's going to win. I would even venture to say it's going to win Best Picture and Best Director. So there's so much excellence surrounding this movie. Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite directors of all time, and he delivers with Oppenheimer. And it's crazy because the movie itself is very long. It's 3 hours. So you would think it probably doesn't have a lot of rewatchability. However, for this moviegoer, I saw it once at an IMAX theater at my local AMC, and then I saw it again at an IMAX theater that in true IMAX. I'm talking like from top to bottom, that ceiling with that screen, and it was beautiful. The biggest sound. Did I have to wear earplugs? Yes, and I'm glad I did, because I looked over to my left and my right, and people were covering their ears during a lot of the explosions. Yeah, the movie itself is just excellent. It's gripping. It's sad. It's harrowing. It's got so much going for it, and the score is my favorite of the year, besides another film, so it's actually my second favorite of the year, but still. Just incredible work by Christopher Nolan and everyone involved. So that leaves us with 2 more spots. Let's begin with number 2, and that is Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, and Robert De Niro. And here is where I give my first 5 out of 5 in my top 10 list. Killers of the Flower Moon is not an easy watch by any means. Is it long? Yeah, it clocks in over 3 hours. I mean, come on. But Martin Scorsese is a living legend. Arguably my favorite director of all time. It's like him and Spielberg, and then you got some more in my Mount Rushmore. But Killers of the Flower Moon is just a gripping movie that is about a subject I never really researched and heard about before. And the Osage people were treated so poorly in this country, and it's so sad to see a lot of what they had to endure. And the movie itself feels raw. It's visceral. It's so... it's needed in Martin Scorsese's filmography, because I noticed in his later years as a director, he's directing movies that really tell a story that isn't so flashy, and it's got a lot of realism to it, and he's trying to bring attention to subjects that were otherwise maybe glorified in the wrong ways with his past films. So I do love that, man, Martin Scorsese just delivers yet again. Now, the performances just blew me away. I mean, there's probably no surprise or shock there, but Leonardo DiCaprio is incredible. Lily Gladstone should win Best Actress at the Oscars next year. If she does not, I'm going to have some words with the Academy. But this movie is shocking. The ending stuck with me for weeks after I watched it, and it's truly a movie that only Martin Scorsese could do. It really is. It's so darn good. I cannot wait to own it one day, and I'm just ready to rewatch it. I just got to be mentally prepared, because this movie really does tug on you, and it really weighs on you just a bit, especially after you finish watching it from start to finish. Yeah, I love it. I love this movie, and I really got no notes. And that now leaves me with my number 1 movie of 2023. Drumroll, someone please. And that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, directed by Joaquin Dos Santos, Ken Powers, and Justin K. Thompson, starring Shameik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Oscar Isaac, Brian Tyree Henry, and Luna Lauren Velez. 5 out of 5. Stop playing with me, okay? This is a perfect movie and a perfect sequel. It is, in my opinion, the best sequel since Empire Strikes Back that I've ever witnessed. This film, from top to bottom, is a technical marvel, and no pun intended. This movie also has some of the best voice acting. Is it over the moon, like it's going to, break your brain? No, but the level of artistry, the performances just bring together an experience for someone who A, loves Spider-Man, and B, loves a good movie. And it shows that animation gets so overlooked oftentimes by year-end awards because this movie deserves to be number one. It deserves to win so many awards, and heck, you know what? If it were up to me, I'd give it Best Picture. I'm serious. This movie's a 5 out of 5. I'd give it a 6 out of 5 if I could, but when I saw Across the Spider-Verse back in May, I knew immediately when I left the theater I just witnessed something special. Watched it again in IMAX. I felt the same way. Across the Spider-Verse is just an incredible piece of work. It definitely embodies the best in what we come to expect from a sequel. It builds on its predecessor, and to me it's arguably better. The soundtrack, the score, which to me is the best score of the year by Daniel Pemberton, and you have the writing, the directing, the action, the level of, I would say, love that goes into this movie is just felt and expressed, and it bleeds through the screen. I can't say enough good things about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and if it's your number one as well, let me know in the comments, because the movie is just magic. And yeah, it was the best time I had at a movie this year. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I loved it so much, and I'm so happy that this movie exists. And now I can't wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse. I have no idea what they're going to pull out of their hat with that one. So there you have it, you guys. That is my top 10 of 2023. 10 movies that I feel are deserving of so much praise and adoration. But in case you skip to the end of the video, shame on you. I'm making a note about your habits when watching videos. No, I'm kidding. But if you did skip to that end, alrighty, I'll just recap my top 10 again for you. Number 10, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 9, Past Lives. Number 8, RAYLA. Number 7, American Fiction. Number 6, Maestro. Number 5, John Wick Chapter 4. Number 4, Barbie. Number 3, Oppenheimer. Number 2, Killers of the Flower Moon. And number 1, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Am I dreaming? Did we just finish my top 10? Are we about to go into 2024? No, I'm not dreaming. This is actually happening. Again, 2024, I can't wait for that year. Can't wait for all the movies coming up, and I can't wait to spend it with y'all. So if you haven't already, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell so you don't miss out on any reviews in the new year, all the news, and we're getting into some reactions because a lot of TV's coming as well. So guys, I'm really excited to spend 2024 with you, and I can't wait to see what God's got in store for the channel, because I can't say it enough. He's done so much already. If he's never done another thing, he's already done enough, right? And I'm happy with it. And he just continues to exceed all of the expectations of my mind and all my imagination. So thank you so much again for your support. I thank God for you guys every day. I cannot wait to see what happens next year. And hey, 50,000's on the way? I think so. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for spending the year with me. And I can't wait to see you in 2024. Oh, wait, that's not how I sound off? Oh, right. And I'll catch you at the next screening.